we already don't have enough people on shore duty, which means we don't have enough people to rotate back to sea duty, which means that they're trying to have one person do 3 people's jobs. How's it going, guys? It's a new year almost in a week, but that's good, right? For a lot of you who choose to come into this rate, good luck, because the future's looking really bleak, because this job is not getting any easier. And that's why I wanted to make this video, just to go over what the next year will look like. And also I wanted to add something because I get a lot of comments from surface fleet yeomen who are going to sign their contract to go to MEPS and just become a YN. So I wanted to also explain the difference between a yeoman and a YNS, a yeoman submarines, just to give you guys more in-depth analysis before you choose which one's the best for you. Obviously, I'm going to know more about the submarine aspect because all I've done is submarines. So when it comes to what I have to say, it's gonna be something that it's gonna speak the most truth, because I've served already on 2 submarines and I've done a submarine support command. So I'm pretty knowledgeable about how the submarine force works for the yeoman rating. Now, that being said, let's just get into it. So this next year going forward, I want to say is gonna get tough, only because they're definitely not bringing in the same amount of people they used to support the rating, meaning less people are required to fill more positions because of the lack of people that are already in the submarine force to begin with, because it's so hard to keep people in the submarine force. And that's why I want you to know this, because if you don't know what you're getting into and you just assume, oh, it's cool to go on a submarine, like blah 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 blah, it's gonna be something that you're gonna really get just blindsided by, because I know you think it's cool, but at the same time you have to expect the work that you have to do is gonna be way more complex. You're on a submarine. I'm telling you, it doesn't get any easier. It actually gets a lot harder, believe it or not. And so going forward from, you know, January to all next year, there's going to be a lot of changes in the yeoman submarine rating, and one of those is they're getting rid of a lot of what's called PSDs, personnel support detachment centers. And what they do is they assist the submarine yeoman with handling people's pay, with handling, you know, separations, with handling transfers from commands, with handling, you know, people being gained to their command, attached when they first report, coordinating with flights and booking, you know, certain travel itineraries for people that are leaving the country. They are going to disappear the PSDs, and essentially they're going to give all that back to the submarine yeoman. So the job's about to get, you know, a lot more robust in terms of ownership and responsibility. There's going to be a lot more pressure on the submarine yeoman to go beyond what they're already going beyond on, because we already go beyond. When PSD goes away, we're going to have to work so much harder. And guess what? You're not going to get paid any differently than you are now. It's going to be the same amount for doing so much more work. So when you look at this, you have to think, well, is there really a bright future going forward? From my opinion, I would honestly say no. It's actually going to get darker and harder. That's just my opinion based off of facts. Notes just taking over the year and analysis of where this rating is going. And that's why I want to really paint the picture when it comes to the surface yeoman, right? So the surface yeoman, their job is actually going to get easier, believe it or not. Because with this new systems, they work on aircraft carriers, destroyers, air squadrons, frigates, mine sweepers, all of these systems that are being integrated for the enhancement of people's pay, administration, anything that comes to the yeoman rating are gonna work way better in the surface fleet than it will in the submarine force, just based on all the different resources that you have in the surface fleets to do it. Like an aircraft carrier can access internet 24 hours a day. Well, obviously that's not true. I actually don't know how, if they can access 24 hours a day. I would assume that they can at least access it like 10 hours a day. There's probably a time when you can use it, because if everyone goes on the internet at the same time, I assume that the bandwidth will really become constrained. But on a submarine force, when you're underwater, you're not getting any whatsoever. For weeks, sometimes months, who knows? The next thing I want to bring up is, since the surface yeoman's responsibility is primary admin, they also can become CPPAs, which stands for Command Paying Personnel Administrator. Some yeomans in the surface fleets do have that title. In the submarine force, all yeomans are called CPPAs, Command Paying Personnel Administrators. As a CPPA, you are basically in charge of people's livelihoods. You know, you're in charge of everything in terms of managing their pay, managing their transfers, managing their separation, managing retirements. You're basically replacing what I said PSD is. So there's PSD, which helps the submarine force yeoman right now with all the extra work that they have to do. When PSD goes away, the CPPA, which is the title we're given now, we never used to be called CPPAs. We will have to do the workload of about, I would say there's 80 people right now at a PSD. We're gonna have to do the workload of 80 people, which is insane. It's literally insane. So if you like working till you're stressed out, I promise you that is a giant possibility. Oh yeah, back to surface yeoman. I just want to touch upon a surface yeoman. Being a surface yeoman, I want to say, has a lot of perks. You actually have time to do college as a surface yeoman, right? Because as a surface yeoman, you do not have to go to a ship. You don't. You can go what's called a shore duty, where you're on land and you're assisting different parts of the Navy from land, right? You know, we get shore duty too in the submarine force, except shore duty is done after your sea tour. You have to go to a submarine. You have to. As soon as you sign the paperwork, you're going immediately to a submarine once you become a submarine YNS. That's 100%, and that's never gonna change. Like I said, in the surface fleet, you sign up to be a yeoman, you don't have to go to sea right away. You don't. You can go to shore. And if you want to, you can go back to shore again. There's more options being a YN than there is a YNS. That's why a lot of YNSs will try to do conversion packages to become YNs. Because, once again, it's a better life if you can have all the time on shore duty to get college done, to, you know, do a job that doesn't have so many duties, beyond just, you know, doing admin. You have more choices when it comes to travel. You don't have a lot of travel choices in the submarine force. There's not very many submarine bases. There's, like I said, there's like 8. You know how many like surface Navy bases there are? There's probably 1,000 of them. So imagine being a surface yeoman, choosing your orders, and your orders is basically your first duty station where you want to go. You have way of a bigger choice when it comes to orders. So when you're a surface yeoman, you can essentially negotiate where you want to go. In the submarine force, they send you wherever they need to send you. Because I wanted to go to Hawaii, Guess where I ended up? I ended up in New Hampshire. Yeah. So it just goes to show there's less choice when you become a YNS than when you become a surface yeoman. You have a lot more choice when it comes to your career when you become a YN. And there's less choice when you become a YNS. And that's just facts, that's based on the truth. And I've talked to a lot of surface YNs who have went to submarines, temporarily assigned to do, you know, just to see what it's like. And this doesn't happen very often where a surface yeoman can go TAD, it was called temporary additional duty, to a submarine and see what it's like. What they saw was like, whoa, you guys work way too hard doing this job. Like, from a surface yeoman, they said being in the submarine force does not sound like it's a good deal for the submarine yeoman. And they said basically that we have to accomplish so much more task in a year period, in a day period, in a month period, in a week period than they have to do. You know, and sometimes these literal environments, these little offices, can barely fit everyone in there to do the job as a yeoman. Like, you can only fit 2 people in there, but yet you have to do like 10 times the amount of work. So you literally can't even fit everyone in your office to do the job. So the conditions in which you're doing the job don't even look sensible. And that's why a lot of people, to be honest, want to go surface yeoman. They do. I've already met 4 people that were former submarine people who like signed up to go surface yeoman. But 99% of the time it gets rejected to go convert. Once you're in the submarine force, I want to make it clear, you're gonna be in the submarine force. There is no leaving it. And I want to make that clear because a lot of people think they could just come in and just leave. Like I don't know, the recruiter tells you, well, hey, you know, if you don't like your job, you can convert into a different rating, but sign this yeoman submarines contract and you'll find your way to a different job later. No, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. I promise you. That will not happen because, once again, we don't have enough people in the submarine force to do it. So it's just not gonna happen. I guess another important factor when it comes to all of this is, like I say, your career. What do you want at the end of the day? What is gonna best suit you or being set up, whether you want to do 20 years or whether you want to do 4 years? You have to really think about it. And I'm just telling you that being a submarine yeoman is gonna get harder, a lot harder in the future. So if you're thinking about doing it, then you better be prepared with what is gonna be brought to the table. Just be ready for it. Another thing that is a huge difference when it comes to submarine versus surface is qualifications. This right here, they're called submarine dolphins. I don't know, can you see that? But submarine dolphins are something that's required for yeoman submariners to achieve within their first year on board. It's mandatory 100%. If you do not get submarine dolphins, there can be some circumstances where they can actually kick you out of the submarine force because you failed to qualify the submarine qualification within the required, I think, 24-month period. There can be waivers, but generally you have to get it done in under 2 years, or if you don't, then you're not gonna be able to be in it because it just took too long. It should take you 6 months to get these. It took me a year. And part of the reason was because working on your qualifications are not easy if you're not on a submarine that's currently out to sea. My first submarine was not a seagoing submarine. We were in what's called a shipyard, meaning that we were all pulled apart. So that means that all the at-sea qualifications that I needed to require to get were done in port, which are harder to do. So there's no guarantee what submarine you'll go to, so you'll never know what position you'll be in when it comes to qualifying. But it's the same no matter where you go. When you report to your first submarine, you will be required to start working on this, your submarine qualification. And you remember, you have to work on this on top of doing your job as a submarine yeoman, which is already very difficult. So when a lot of like junior yeomen come to me and tell me, I'm so stressed out, I can relate to that, because you're literally like working yourself to exhaustion trying to get this qualification done and doing your job. It's really hard. It's a really hard rating, and I want to let you know, if you want to go become a YNS, you better be willing to work really, really hard. And that's how I want to end this video. But good luck.